Greetings everybody, Jorgen here, and I wanted to do a video on the character Eren Jaeger from the anime Attack on Titan. Specifically, I wanted to see who he represents in Norse mythology, or what's also known as the Asatru religion. But before I start, I wanted to disclaim some things. First off, spoilers ahead in case it isn't clear by the topic at hand. Second, I have only watched the animated version of the Shingeki no Kyojin story, so I apologize for any missing key information I didn't mention. Third, I'm not an expert on Norse mythology slash Asatru religion. I have a pretty good surface level understanding of it, but that's it. Just in case I miss something or misinterpret certain stories slash meanings. Another thing is that most of my knowledge comes from the channel Norse Magic and Beliefs, which I recommend you to check out, by the way. I trust his knowledge slash explanations because he often makes them pretty neutral, meaning that he doesn't tell you what to believe, but instead gives you a full exploration of the different meanings and interpretations of the old stories slash sagas. With that out of the way, I think the best place to start is by analyzing the character of Eren. So he is introduced as a carefree child, bored by his peaceful days and bothered by the feeling of being trapped within the walls that protect humanity. This all changes one fateful day in which the wall that protects the town is breached by a giant. When this happens, Eren rushes back to his home in order to find his mother. Tragically, he finds her trapped beneath the rubble and is helpless. While trying to get her free, another giant approaches, forcing the family friend named Hans to take him and his adoptive sister Mikasa far away. This pushes Eren into a fit of rage, in which he swears to exterminate every single giant. Years later, Eren joins the military, specifically the branch named the Service Corps, which is in charge of exploring the world outside the walls in search of new places to expand to and settle. But before he can formally join the corps, another attack on the second wall happens. Throughout the new invasion of giants, Eren gets eaten and is presumed dead. Later, a mysterious giant with unique features is seen killing other giants, a thing that until that moment was unprecedented. It is revealed that the mysterious giant was actually Eren, that somehow had the ability to turn into a giant himself. Through many more adventures and revelations, we find out about how the world that Eren knew is actually a small island, that there are actually more people beyond said island, and more importantly, about how most of the world hates its inhabitants. Plus the fact that all giants are actual people, specifically the people called Eldians, which carry the dormant ability to become mindless giants when exposed to giant spinal fluid. Not to mention the fact that there are 9 special giants in total with specific abilities, and these giants have been used throughout history by Eldians and the rest of the world as weapons. These special giants only live 13 years, and the first giant was the woman named Ymir. Also, the attack giant, which is the giant that Eren possesses, has the unknown ability to see into the future. Later on, Eren seems to go insane and attempts to wipe out the world outside Paradise Island, in what's believed to be a misguided attempt to save not only his friends, but the Eldian people as well. We then find out that he actually was attempting to reduce the world's population in order to manipulate the rest of it into accepting the Eldians, by both painting them as heroes for opposing the mad giant Eren, and reducing their numbers so they don't have any advantages over Paradise Island, all while sacrificing himself in the process. What does all of this tell us about Eren? A. Above all, he values freedom. B. He is willing to do anything to get what he wants. C. He deeply cares about his friends and his people. And D. He is neither a hero or a villain. So, who could he represent in Norse mythology? Before I answer that, I wanted to do a very small summary of what the Norse mythology or the Asatru religion is about. This is the belief system centered around the Norse Hall of Gods. This includes gods like Odin, Freya, Tyr, Balder, Thor, and Loki, as well as other creatures as the Jotun or giants, dwarves, elves, Eldjotnar or fire giants, among others. These set of beliefs are mainly based on the Poetic Edda, Prose Edda, and the archaeological finds in Scandinavia, as this religion was mostly raised by Christians in the past. There are 2 main interpretations for this religion. The first one is the most literal, as it represents the gods as actual beings that existed/exist, and their stories are lessons from which we can learn. The second is the metaphorical interpretation, that basically depicts the gods more as forces of nature that were given names and forms by the ancient people of Scandinavia, meaning that the gods aren't actual beings that exist, they are more like elements slash forces slash presences. Also, the Norse gods aren't representative of one single thing. They are multi-purpose. For example, Thor represents the storms, lightning, and thunder, but he also represents health and strength. Now, based on my knowledge of Norse mythology, I think that Eren is supposed to represent the god of mischief, Loki. Loki is a half Jotun because of his father, Farbuti, and half god because his mother, Luffy, that was herself a goddess, at least as far as findings go. Loki is always depicted as a free spirit, doing things with or without reason. He is brought to Asgard as part of a peace agreement between the Aesir, or the gods, and the Jotnar, or the giants. Later, Loki forms a blood pact with Odin, after he did a great favor for him. Thanks to this, he acquired a level of freedom that basically allowed him to mess with everyone he wanted to. That doesn't mean that he was consequence-free, as many times his actions caused him to almost die and a lot of pain. Some examples of these are when he cut Sif's hair, or Thor's wife, thing that enraged Thor, and so he was threatened to get every bone in his body broken. Then he literally gambled his own head, almost losing it in the process. And most famously, causing the death of Balder, the god of light and the most beloved god, thing that eventually led to Ragnarok, or what's known as the end of times for the Norse people. And it also was the cause for his imprisonment till that final day. Lastly, Loki is supposed to represent the catalyst for change as far as experts can tell, meaning that he doesn't exactly make change happen, but he normally is the spark that causes the start of a shift. For example, the loss of Sif's hair eventually led to the Aesir to acquire powerful weapons and artifacts, one of them being the famous Mjolnir, one of their strongest weapons against the Jotnar, or the giants. So, how is Eren similar to Loki? First off, considering that Eren's father was from the mainland and his mother was from Paradise Island, it could be said that in the mainland symbolizes Jotunheim, or the land of the giants, and Paradise Island represents Asgard, or the land of the gods. Even though Luffy isn't confirmed to be an Aesir, she's still a goddess. You can then say that Grisha, in this context, is Farbuti, or Loki's father, and Carly is supposed to be Luffy, metaphorically making Eren half giant and half god. Then there is the fact that Eren was the reason why Marley didn't attack Paradise Island, making it so there was a kind of a peace agreement between the two groups, just like Loki was the reason there was a peace agreement between the Jotnar and the Aesir. It can also be said that since Eren became Paradise's main weapon against the giants, that earned him a spot in the military forces, that being similar to how Loki did a favor for Odin that granted him a place in Asgard. There is also the fact that Eren is mischievous even as a child, getting in trouble with the garrison, or what basically is the cops inside the wall, other children, and adults, just like Loki, often pulling pranks on the other gods and generally getting in trouble because of his behavior. Then comes the manipulation. As I said before, Loki is believed to be the catalyst for change or of change. And often in the myths, he is right there sparking up situations throughout manipulation, whether they are for his own benefit or for the benefit of the Aesir. In that regard, Eren, as seen later on in the series, does exactly that, not really forcing anyone to do anything, but subtly nudging them in certain directions. Like for example, we know that he showed Eren Kruger enough of the future so he would in turn save Grisha, as well as gifting him the attack giant. Eren also shows enough of the future to Grisha so he would fulfill his plan to take the founder giant for himself. In this case, it would seem that like Eren forced Grisha to do what he wanted him to do. But that would be false, as we can see that Eren never used the founder's power to literally make him do what he did. Eren then makes sure that the Smiling Giant, aka Grisha's previous wife, ignores others until she finds Carla, just so his younger self would take the path that he took. When adult Eren finally accepts his role in the story, he manipulates his brother Siki and the Servicorps in order for him to obtain the ability to use the Founder's power, that way starting the Rumbling. Then there are the parallels between Ragnarok and the Rumbling. First being how Eren, just like Loki, was imprisoned for betraying others. In Loki's case, he caused the death of Balder, and in Attack on Titan, Eren betrayed Siki to cause the Rumbling. Both times, Loki and Eren break their chains in order to actually start their respective disasters. Then, Eren, with the help of the powers from the other giants, goes to war against Marley and the rest of the world. Just like Loki goes to war with his sons and daughter and all of the enemy of Asgard against the Aesir. Finally, in Myths, after Ragnarok happens, a new cycle of life starts with the survivors of the disaster. And in Attack on Titan, the exact same thing happens. Humanity restarts from scratch because of the Rumbling. That's why, in my opinion, Eren is supposed to represent Loki, since both are catalysts for both good change and bad change, both seeking to fulfill their goals in any way they can, both being manipulative, mischievous, and ultimately, both being agents of freedom. And yeah, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed the video, hope to see your thoughts in the comments, and hope to see you next time. Goodbye.